So folks, November the 24th, Sunday, be this upcoming Thanksgiving for this week. And I'm not going to tell you that I've got a good video for you today. I want to tell you that I've got literally a groundbreaking video. Literally. It's not a good video. It's literally going to be an unprecedented video is what it's going to be. Because I've had a lot of prophecy that has came to me in the last little while. And it's just unbelievable what it is. And so I really suggest that you stay tuned with me, that you take a look at this, because I'm going to show you some stuff, folks, that's literally going to be jaw-dropping. Now, this is going to get into some complicated stuff. It's going to get into some stuff that you may not even understand, because it's really going to take somebody that really loves God and looks at history and really thinks with a discerning mind in order to decipher this stuff out. So I've got to go through some of it pretty quick or the video is going to be lengthy. But you really need to see this, okay? All right, so I'm going to begin this by, this is going to be a little bit unusual, guys, but I'm going to do it. I am going to send a little bit of a message out here at the beginning of this. Because there's only one person or one individual in this entire world that I hate. Only one. So I've got a message for him. And the message is simply this. You ran me over for the last 8, 9, 10 years, Lucifer. You broke everybody up in Southwest Virginia. You ran me into the ground for reasons that I didn't know. And now I'm going to get you, big boy. I'm going to get you. I want to show the world what you've done. I want to show them how you did it. Yeah, that's right. I want to get you. This is personal between you and me now. You've sucked it to me for the last 8, 9, 10 years, drugged me through the mud and everything else, and I didn't understand why. But I'm going to get you, big boy. Tonight, the people is going to see. The world is going to see some things that they've not saw. And when they do, they're going to know what you did. I want to get you. And you know it too. So, with this in mind, guys, please excuse that, but it needed to be done. Because that's the truth, it really is. On this YouTube, the censorship begins on the December the 10th. There's going to be a lot of changes. And that's part of the reason why this prompted this whole thing about me doing this video really quickly. And a lot of stuff that goes in with this video. And I get the feeling that they're going to throw a lot of the Christian people off YouTube. I told you guys that. And so that's the reason why that I'm not getting really charismatic with this whole thing, guys. I'm not getting really, I'm not going into it with moving video footage and all that stuff. There's no need in it. Because I don't even think that I'm going to be on this platform. They're going to get rid of it, okay? And everybody's talking about it. Everybody has been talking about it. And everybody's been saying, too, that they're going to go to BitChute. That they're going to go and they're going to put the... Folks, the BitChute, let me tell you something. Not only has the elites got a hold of YouTube and they've shut it down, they've also thought ahead of time and they knew everybody was going to run to BitChute. So what did they do? They bought that out and they put it right down below the castles where the nobility is. Okay, so the aristocracy runs BitChute. Okay, and it's not debatable, they do. And so, they're simply going to get you there, put you in a dead end, everybody's going to fuss and complain, they're just going to drop you in the water slowly but surely there, and there you're done. So they know what they're doing. It's already been planned out. You can see it. So what are they afraid of? What are they really afraid of, guys? I'm going to tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid that you're going to learn the truth. That's what they're afraid of. And the truth is indeed out there. The truth is going to be something else when you learn it. And they're so afraid of you learning the truth. One of them is the aristocracy runs this world. There's nobody else runs this world. And listen, I've had people tell me, you mean to tell me, Jerry, you really think that kings and queens rules this world? Yes, absolutely I do. They still do. They just run it under the New World Order system. It's what they run it under, in which they just look like a novelty, and they stick everything else out there like as a fictitious character, just like the presidency, okay? And if you don't believe that, I want you to ask yourself one question. Number one, does your Bible say anything at all about presidents? No. Kings and queens is what it talks of. Number two, they owned all the cattle, all the land, all the people. They owned everything back 250 to 300 years ago. What did they all just do? Just all drop it and walk away and give it away for the sake of democracy of the people? Come on, man. If you can answer that question, then I may subscribe to the idea that the aristocracy is not running this country. Until then, and you can't answer that, that's exactly what I believe, because I believe that's what it is, and that's what my Bible says. My Bible mentions kings and queens. My Bible says nothing of presidents, okay? So, first of all, I want you guys to know that you're going to have to learn a few simple things. I've got to tell you a few things before we proceed with this whole thing. Number one, I've told you this before, but I need to tell you again. The aristocracy that is in the world that we have today, they are indeed the evolved pharaohs of old from Egypt. That's what they are. I've got a map that I'm going to show you here. They came from across Egypt, and when the sea crashed in on them in the Red Sea following Moses, that wasn't a sea crashing in on them literally, guys. It was a metaphor. Just like many things that's in the Bible is a metaphor. It was crashing in on them, and their genetics went into the sea of people. It's a metaphor, okay? And that's indeed what has happened. So they went into Mongolia. They were Genghis Khan at one time. They went into Khazaria. They were the ancient warlords of Monarchia. They were the Templars that ran the 30-year war, in which they killed a lot of the people in southern Germany. And finally they settled down into the Swiss Alps, okay? That's what they done. And the Templars, they were the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth born sons of Pharaoh. They weren't the primogenitor. The primogenitor is the primary people in which they inherit everything, you see. That's the way the aristocracy runs. The firstborn, they get everything. And the second, third, fourth, fifth born sons, they get nothing. They get nothing. So that's basically how Switzerland was founded, was through the Templars, off of those sons. And, they did what they did. And they are the pharaohs. Right at the French and Switzerland line, you can even see some of the pyramids that was at the line, and they tore the top of them off. So you don't know what they are. Okay, and then another one, and you can see here very quickly, you can also see that the largest one with the obelisk in the middle of it, which I've showed that before, that is in Switzerland. And Napoleon even visited that. Napoleon was a pharaoh because he was part of the aristocracy. So, I'll get a little bit more into that one day, but I can prove it to you guys, and so can Sean. Sean Harass, he can prove it to you through his videos. And he's the one that helped me fill in the blanks with a lot of this stuff, okay? And they took a lot of his stuff off the internet. What he has left, I will put it in the description box at the end of this broadcast, along with a few other people that you can see on YouTube that is worthy of your time. I've got a preacher also, one good one that is, I have found to be worthy, that's not telling a bunch of lies like the rest of them. So I'll let you know who that guy is too, okay? So now, let's talk a little bit about this British monarchy. And you're going to have to understand what these people think and what they believe in order to get the message that I want to give you today, okay? The British monarchy of the royal family, they have the British Jack flag. And really that British Jack flag is really the British Jacob flag, okay? Jacob. As in Jacob and the ladder going to heaven. And they believe that they have the right to rule as they are the descendants of King David. Okay? The 8-pointed star that they brandish, that is the Order of the Garter, better known by Sean Harass as Octagon. That's what he calls it, Octagon. But anyway, that's what they show. And if you see Octagon, that is the aristocracy, indeed, okay? And it's brandished sometimes by the primogenitor, and sometimes it's brandished by the Templars, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th born sons of Pharaoh, okay? So, Prince William became the 1000th member of this Order of the Garter, okay? And Prince William is the Duke of Cambridge. He is second in succession to Prince Charles, okay? And so, when Prince Charles was married to Lady Diana, she had brought a very important blood lineage into this whole thing that many people don't understand that. And the blood lineage that she brought into that was the Morbo Genitron, is what it was. And basically what that is now Prince William has got a certain amount of blood lineage from every king that they are. And that was all done on purpose, okay? Now, given the fact that they believe they are descendants of King David, if you go underneath the throne of the Queen, you will see that Prince Charles also, besides the Queen, is going to have a spot underneath the throne for this slab of rock that Jacob had. And this slab of rock was the one that he had laid his head on when this ladder going to heaven was supposed to take place. And so they believe they have the divine right to rule based upon that. They actually believe that they are going to rebuild the third temple of Jerusalem, and that they're going to rule there as the Legion worship, I think that they call it. Okay? I'm doing the best I can do to describe this. And so that will go underneath Prince Charles's throne, and eventually underneath Prince William's throne. So you understand that this aristocracy of England, they feel like they have the divine right to rule the entire world. As a matter of fact, between the land and the money, between the Queen and Lord Jacob Rothschild, they own 85% of the money too, guys. So it's kind of hard to believe. Some people would actually think they own all that land and 85% of the money, and yet they have nothing to do with the politics or the ruling, right? Oh, brother. I don't know, but anyway, that's something else, okay? Now, I'm going to show you something that came up on to my discussion forum here the other day. That this is kind of the Hollywood aspect of what they done. And on Harry Potter, they've actually got, on the different stuff that they have, they've actually got this shield right here of the tribe of the Danites. And that tribe of the Danites, guys, whether you realize it or not, that represents the aristocracy of England, okay? It does. And so, you know, that they claim that they're descendants of Jacob and the tribe of Judah, but they're not really, they're really more the tribe of the Danites. And many people who do a lot of thorough research on this stuff, we realize that, and that has a whole lot to do with a lot of things, guys, okay? But anyway, this is what I had to tell you in order for you to understand where I'm going with my story, because much of this story is about me, okay? Okay, now, there is some research that was done by Dr. Ripley in 1897, okay? And this research that was done by Dr. Ripley actually began to prove that the Egyptians that are in Switzerland are actually pharaohs for a reason. And the reason is, if you can see here on this map that I'm showing you, the darker colored index that is in Switzerland, in northern Italy, it's in France, that one place dead in the center of Europe, it has what they call the brachycephalic, the order of the brachycephalic skull, okay? And that skull is more of a rounded skull versus the skull of other Europeans and people throughout the world, which is the dolichocephalic skull, okay? You have to follow me close to understand where I'm going with this whole thing, all right? So, as you can plainly see here by the map, the brachycephalic skull is in the dark outlines, and these people do definitely have an entirely different skull form, and it's completely different than anyone else in the entire world in terms that it's round, the brain cavity is much bigger, and I'm kind of giving away a secret right here, and I hope it don't get me in trouble. But this skull is part of the reason why the Freemasons feature the square and compass on their logo, because of the craniometrical and cephalometrical measurements of this skull, okay? I know this is going deep, folks, but we have to go here in order for you to see where I'm going, okay? All right. So, this brachycephalic skull that you see that I had just introduced you to, that Dr. Ripley done some thorough research on back in the 1800s, you won't find any recent research on any of that. Because if you find any recent research on it, it's been tainted. It's been bothered. You can't go by that stuff. You just can't. I mean, there's a lot of information out there right now, guys, that are junk. So that's why you have to meditate with the Lord. That's why you have to look into things with a discerning mind. And not only that, this brachycephalic skull, I have an added edge, I do, in knowing why. That this is what we say it is. It's not anything modified. Okay? I lost my train of thought for a second. But anyway, now, there's only one other people in the entire world that has this round skull. Okay? The other group of people that has this round skull is the Jews. Now you're going to say, Jerry, why would the Jews have the same skull as the Egyptians which live in Switzerland? Well, that's easy to answer, folks, if you think hard enough about it. Satan, he is all about genocide, okay? That's what he does. He fights people from the inside out. He does it in many ways, guys. He'll do it through genocide. He will do it through emotions. He'll do it through drugs. Drugs will fight you from the inside out. That's what's so terrible about being a drug addict for some people. It's a fight from the inside out, and you're literally destroying yourself, fighting yourself. That's why it's so demonic to be a drug addict, like a methamphetamine addict or something like that. It's just, it's terrible. You're fighting yourself from the inside out and literally destroying yourself, and there can't be anything worse. So you can only imagine what it's been like for the Jews, okay? And you're saying, well, why have they got this same skull then, Jerry, as the Egyptians? Well, Pharaoh, for 410 years, they were prisoner of Pharaoh in Egypt, in which Pharaoh raped the women. And the aristocracy raped the German women up in southern Germany through the order of the Prima Noctis, or First Night of the Noble Lord, in which they took the bride of the first night of the wedding into the castle, and you know the rest of the story. And so This is the reason why that the Jews have got the same skull as the Egyptians, which live in Switzerland. Okay? And it's kind of hard to describe all this, guys. This is really a sophisticated situation, but even though they've got the same genetics in terms of the skull, they don't have the same thing in their heads. It's not the same train of thought or anything like that. They adopted the skull, but they didn't adopt the ways. They didn't adopt the train of thought, you know. And so in some instances and in some situations, it may be even hard to discern somebody if they've got a 50-50 blood lineage of that, or a 40-60, what are you really? And that can really happen in any instance. See, this is something you've never heard of. This is something that these preachers and stuff have never taught. It's something that they don't understand, okay? But it's there, indeed, all right? Now, that's the same thing that I just told you about, that the aristocracy also done to the English and the Scottish and the Irish. The prime noctis, or the first night of the noble lord. And they actually showed that from the Hollywood perspective. They showed that on Braveheart even. But then they came back a little bit later and they said, oh no, that ain't what that's supposed to be. We just made that up. Yeah, right. Yeah, you just made that up. They didn't want you to know that, guys. They thought about it and they said, we better not let the general public know so much of that. But guess what? They done let the cat out of the bag, didn't they? And it's true. It really is, okay? Okay, now, I'm going to go into my story at this point in time. And I've got a connection in with this. My story is this. In 1977, there was a big flood in Southwest Virginia. And during this big flood, we lived in a house, my mother and father and I did, where it got washed out. And we were in the process of moving up to a house above where we were at. We were going to be renting off Dita Davis. And so Dita was helping them with some things, even when that house had gotten completely flooded out, because we had actually moved up there a little bit earlier and stayed up there. And so at one point in time, they let me stay with Dita's sister that lived near the railroad tracks in a little white house, and they had a little windmill, well, a tall windmill in their front yard. And I can remember, for the first time the other day, I remembered that. And during that time, her sister told me something that I had forgotten for 42 years. Okay? She looked at me and she said, Jerry, or not Jerry, she said David, because my middle name is David, so I went by David back in those days. She told me, she said, David, she said, you have got something very special about you. And she said, she even looked at my head. She turned my head sideways to the left and to the right. And she said, you got something really special about you? Your family that you come from as an origin right there, your blood kin family, is very different and very special from other people. She said, you'll find out when you get older what it is. She said, but they were daring cavaliers that come to the shores of Virginia. And she said, they are very different than other people in many ways. And she said, you'll find out what those ways are later. Well, I was only 5 years old. And so, guys, I forgot this for 42 years. I forgot it. Okay? But you might want to say, well, why did she know this? She may have known it, guys, because actually Dita Davis's family, that was actually her sister, but I think the Davises up there may have been, maybe even, some of the lower end of the aristocracy. And the reason why that I say that is her son, Jack Davis, he practically owned all of Wise County. He owned the banks up there and everything else, so they could have very well been the lower end of the aristocracy. I don't know, but they had a tendency to know some things that other people didn't know, and I had forgot that. So anyway, here is the coat of arms of my blood kinship family. And this has nothing to do with my upbringings or anything like that. This is the coat of arms. Okay? It's the coat of arms of the blood kinship. Okay. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means quite a bit because I found some other evidence of some stuff. Actually, guys, with my daughter, this whole thing about the round skull configuration was very well defined. As a matter of fact, you can see it in this picture, that the doctors that delivered her, they thought that there was just something just so unusual about her. They actually wanted to try to talk us into letting them do surgery and so forth on her. We wouldn't do it. And we said, well, what's wrong? Do you think she's mentally retarded or something? They said, no, she just do. They really didn't know what to say. But what it was, she had the brachycephalic skull, just like I have and just like my youngest daughter has. Okay? We've got the skulls of that. And so, finally, we took her to a brain doctor, the craniometrical doctor in Roanoke, Virginia. His name was Dr. Michael Sisk. And he actually told us that she genetically had a different skull that had a percentage of the amount of additional room in her skull that was equivalent to the same thing that Einstein had had. Okay? So I think he sort of knew, but he didn't say anything, and maybe he didn't know the whole story. I don't know. I can't say. But this confirmed what that I had remembered from this discussion in Virginia. Now, let's go on to a further discussion about this. Well, first of all, before we do that, I want to show you some stuff that's very interesting about my daughter before we go on to a further discussion that shows more proof. Here you can see the tarot card of the High Priestess of the Solar Analema. Okay? Now, I don't get into these tarot cards, guys. This just so happened to be something I ran across while I was researching that they just showed. And so I don't get into that kind of thing. Okay? Because they're really the devil in many ways. But there was something that was interesting that came up in this. On that solar analema, the conversion point on the 8 shape configuration is on April the 16th. The ascension of it is. And that's right around when my daughter's birthday is. My daughter's birthday is one day off, my guys, but you have to remember, the Mayan calendar's off 25 days for every 1 year equivocal, so it's probably off one day. Because that's easily done. Because the Mayan calendar, we got it wrong a little bit with that calendar, but anything prophetic goes with the original date. It don't go with it doesn't go with the date we think. And so that about lines up. And that's something else, because this tarot card of the High Priestess, this is Mary. And she's in the middle of the, she's on the High Priestess throne with Joachim and Boaz or whatever they're on the, And that's I thought that was something else. And then, to make things even more a little bit interesting, my birthday is on the spring equinox. Then if you want to go even more interesting with that, I was born from a mother that had a birthday on 9/11, and 9/11 is really, according to 2,000 years in the Mayan calendar, being off maybe like 9/23, and they say that may be the birth of Jesus. So there's a lot of sophisticated things going on there, but I'm just bringing that up. I don't claim to know everything about this, but it sure is an awful big coincidence. Now, here's something that really will get you too. Here's you a picture of this woman here, and she received an award from the Queen Elizabeth, and this woman's name is Margaret Atwood. And I have a blood lineage to this woman. Yes, I do have a blood lineage to her. And I think that, I don't know if she's part of the aristocracy or whatever, but you can see she's definitely done something that the Queen felt worthy of because they gave her an award. And to make things even more sophisticated with this whole thing, what did she did to deserve this award? She made The Handmaid's Tale. And that Handmaid's Tale is about a group of women that basically are hand-chosen genetically to bear children for the elite men. And I am in a strong suspecting that these girls, the reason why that they're chosen, they have the brachycephalic skull. That's the reason why. It's what the Lord's showing me, guys, and that's what the Lord's telling me. I really think that's the case. Now, another thing too, well, let's see. But that's just really something else that The Handmaid's Tale that's like that. I mean, that just, what kind of a coincidence would that be that prophetically goes in with everything else, and this woman, her name and everything else, along with all this? Now, something else that gets me too. Seeing that the aristocracy has the same skull as the Jews, you can go to the skulls of, you can go to St. John Divine Cathedral. So let's go there. And at St. John Divine Cathedral, this is made by the Zionists. This is basically, this cathedral was made by the worshipful master of New York of the Freemasons. And as you can see on this thing, it shows basically the Zionist Messiah being born. And you can see the lamb down below it has the rope and stuff around its feet and everything else. It's very prophetic. But if you really take a look at this, and you know the Freemasons, they do everything with precision. They do everything absolutely precise. So if you'll look right on top of the head, you will see the round skull of the brachycephalic order. And that tells me that that baby, that the Antichrist, the man of perdition, will be of the aristocracy. He will be a descendant of Pharaoh. He will not be a Jew. No way. The Jews get blamed for a lot of things, guys. They do. And no, it's not him, it's the aristocracy. Now you may say, well, Jerry, what about you? Are you part of the aristocracy? No. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to it. This is kind of hard for me because it's all prophetic that involves me personally. Okay? Now, I want to show you here. This is a different coat of arms for the Atwoods that involves the acorns, and I'm going to put it up here. And if you'll notice that this shield, that, believe it or not, and I couldn't believe it myself, this is one of the lost tribes of Judah. So, you know, God says in the end times you'll find out who you are. And so, he told me that he would show me who I was when this whole thing started. And so basically, guys, that's one of the reasons why that I've had such a rough time the last 8 or 9 years when this Age of Aquarius come in off of the freaking devil is I never knew it the whole time that we are Jews. We are. And I always knew there was something about me that was different than other people. And I always knew there was something going on with it. And but I never could put my finger on it. Because I think differently than other people do. I have a tendency to have problems with simple stuff, but can figure out really complex stuff. And that's some of the same things that kind of genetics kind of throws out there. And but I never thought in a million years that I would ever find out that one of the lost tribes of Judah is my genetic bloodline. And we've got the skulls to back it up too, guys. I've had it all checked out. There's no way that I would come out here and tell people this, for everybody to see this, in 48 states in the world, as a matter of fact, and it not be the case. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something now that is going to be unbelievable. And this is the first time that you've ever heard this, ever. Your history books have been lying to you. Yes, they've been lying to you people. It's all a lie. It's all. They have lied to you about World War II. They have lied to you about what's went on. Yes, the concentration camps were there. Yes, they put the concentration camps there. Yes, the Jews were persecuted. Okay? But they have lied to you about how these Jews were identified. These Jews were identified by the skull that they had and not by anything else. And the books will tell you, oh, we went by records and we went by tax records, and it is a lie. It's all a lie. Just like a lot of other things are a lie. And you might say, well, how do you know this, Jerry? I know it because God has shown me. Okay? It's all a lie. If you will notice the skull and bones that you have, that it's on the SS officers, that identified them as chronometrical identification and termination experts. Okay? Now, I know what some of you are going to say. You're going to say, well, that was on some jackets before that the SS come around, Jerry. They used that before the SS. Yes, they did. And guess what? It was the same descendants of the aristocracy that used it, and it was the same purposes that they used it for. Because if you take a look, I think the next few pictures that they have it's of that, it's German descendants of World War I, which is not really the Germans, guys. It's the Pharaohs, okay? But that's the case. Everybody that used that is a groundbreaking thing. Now, there's another aspect to this. You're going to say, well, but Jerry, they put gypsies in there too. They put gypsies in there, not just the Jews. Guys, see, we're living in the days where the book of Daniel is being opened up, guys. That's what many people don't understand. The book of Daniel is being opened up and knowledge is being increased. The book of the gypsies is the tribe of Simeon, of the Jews. They're a tribe of the Jews. Left to wonder, just like that the prophecy says. They're the Jews of Simeon, the tribe of Simeon. Okay? Okay. Now that I have showed you all that, that is really a lot to. It's really a lot to chalk down, and I'm going to let you chalk on that, son. There's one thing that I want to show you before that I go, and I'm going to give you a hint of some other things that's going on and taking place, but I'm not going to tell you flat out what it is because I'm going to make you work a little bit for it. I think people need to work for some of the blessings that they get, some of the salvation that they need to get. It's not appreciated unless you work for it, guys. So we're going to go to Revelation 13:2, okay? And back behind me here, you see the Kabbalah tree. And this Kabbalah tree, this is the very foundation of the study of Freemasonry, which is the study that is underneath the order that's under the aristocracy, okay? The members of the aristocracy, they're part of it. The Freemasons, they're the elite, and everything that they study is from King Solomon's temple and from Kabbalah. And so this whole thing it's all them, okay? Now, I'm going to show you something that I found. The Monster Energy drinks. You see some of these that's on YouTube, and they show you the Monster Energy, and you saw some of them, and they're pretty much all the same. But I'm going to show you a Monster Energy deal right here inside my own video that's going to absolutely blow every bit of those others out of the water. Are you ready? All right. These are all yantras. Okay, every one of those you see. And the yantras, they are Hebrew. They go in configurations of 3 for each one of them. You have 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, and it goes all the way down to 10, 10, 10, which 10, 10, 10 resembles the Godhead. This is the God that sits upon the throne. Okay? Now, in this, if you notice, is 666. And this 666 is the sun god Horus, which that's what the devil's going to be in these last days, is Horus, the sun god. Okay? 666. Okay? Now, I want to show you an image right here, and I had to really work for this to get it. This is another coat of arms. This is the company right here that makes the import of the Monster Energy drink, okay? And they changed a lot of their stuff on paper to just Monster Energy so that when it went to Corona, California, you didn't know it was them putting it out, okay? But this company that you're looking at right here, this is located in Denmark. And it's basically the Mark of Dan is what Denmark stands for, the Mark of Dan. And so that's the ones that imports the Monster Energy. The people you're seeing right here, this, whatever that H, Halson or whatever, that's the people that import this in. Okay, so I've got one of these. And here is the can, okay? Now, let me show you something. And you can figure it out. Here it is. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power. The dragon gave the beast his power, his seat, and his authority. This can is showing you Revelation 13:2 right here. This is the dragon that gives the beast. This is Hebrew for 666. It goes from right to left. He give him his power, his seat, and his authority. And so that's what that stands for on the import. Okay. Thank you very much for seeing my video, and I hope you got something out of it. Take some of this down, chalk some of it down, and let me know what you think on the comments. I'm going to leave you in the description box. I'm going to leave you some good places to go to on YouTube to hear some good teachings. I'm going to leave you the preacher that I'm listening to now. He's been very good. I found him here a few weeks back. His views may not necessarily reflect mine all the time, but he's very good. Okay, and so I'll do that, and I'll leave you the description for some other things on there. Maybe leave you some descriptions in the description box too for some of Dr. Ripley's craniometrical findings that he had, so that you can chalk down some of that about World War II, because guys, we have been lied to, flat out. We've been lied to. I mean, I have discerned this whole thing. That's the whole thing, the reason why people can't see anything anymore, guys. We don't live in a day and age where people meditate on anything. It's just grab the phone, look at something, go, and you're gone. And there's no meditation, guys. There's no discerning thought in the master to just sit down and, Master, please help me, show me, Master, show me. But if I am indeed from the same tribe as the Master is, that's just absolutely unprecedented. It really is. I'm going to look more into it. It's all new to me too, guys. But I thought you had the right to know. Thank you much for seeing my video.